welcome back to N.Cast. I am your host, or co-host, I should say, Prince Ayo, and we also have here with us.
Yep, what's up? It's Brian. I got my webcam back, so even though we're on Skype, we have these new enhanced video episodes now.
That's pretty dope. That's pretty dope because now I can actually upload our videos up to YouTube. We've been on YouTube for like a week or two now. So that's definitely going to help with the visual and audio. Another surprise for our episode is it's our 50th episode.
Yeah, big milestone.
Yeah, big like benchmark milestone, yeah.
I remember like a month ago when we got like episode 5, I'm like, wow, we've done 5 episodes so far? And now we're at 50, and it's just like, whoa. Obviously, I haven't been for every single one, but you've definitely been putting in a lot of work, getting all this content out, and yeah, man, 50's big.
I mean, 50's, regardless if you've been in all of them or not, you still helped me along the way a lot of times. So regardless, I still feel like you're here. So yeah, I'm big. When it comes to business like this, a big teamwork type person. You can't do it all by yourself. You know what I mean?
I feel it.
Yeah, but I was reviewing one of the episodes. I remember I was talking about myself and how I've been, and I completely forgot to ask you the question, how you been, and try to go straight into the segment. So we're going to start off with, Brian, how you been?
Since the last time we recorded, not much has changed, honestly. Just continuing my online classes, just, playing video games online. Mostly been up to the same stuff, just a different week. But I've been. Are
good. Your days getting blurred?
Not really. And I think that's mostly because I've been keeping a pretty consistent sleeping schedule. Like I still go to sleep at like midnight, and I still wake up at like 8 in the morning. So I have a pretty normal sleep schedule right now. I imagine if that were to get messed up, then my days would definitely get blurred. It's like, wait, is it Tuesday or Wednesday? Oh no, it's Thursday. Like, whoa, like where'd the week go? It's like, yeah, but no, like I've been keeping track of my days because I kind of have to because I'm taking a lot of online classes, and I can't let these assignments blow me by. Like, it was just a few days ago I realized, like, oh my goodness, like we have less than a month left in the semester. And that's crazy. But that's really all I've been up to. Yeah.
So it's funny you mentioned sleep schedule because my sleep schedule has just been back and forth. Even though I can remember my days, the only reason why it's been back and forth because I'll go to sleep around like 10 after like a long day, and then I'll wake up around like 4:30 in the morning, 5, and then I'm just up like trying to figure stuff out. Like I have my online classes too, and like we have a group project, and in the group project I'm trying to make sure I'm contributing and like doing the best I can, like because I have like a certain role where I have to like look up certain policies to contribute to the group project, and I'm just like, it's kind of weird because like it's one thing to have like your own assignments for an online class, but when you have like a group project, like we all have to make sure we're not like saying the same stuff. We have different roles for different tasks during the assignment, and it feels like it's a little bit easier because you only have to do one portion, but you have to make sure you have to read through the content that they used in the assignment and make sure you're not saying the same thing because it's like like you can overlap. You need to make sure you're on the same page. So I think it's kind of like. It's a good thing and a bad thing because it's keeping me productive. Because like after the online assignments and stuff, I try to like work on like business stuff, like either like the podcast or the website. I still need to work on SEOs. That's like my top priority for like this entire month is like just work on SEOs.
I feel it.
Yeah. You know much about SEOs or not?
No, I'm not too familiar. Give us some explanation behind that.
So basically, SEO is search engine optimization, just to help like get your website or podcast in the front of like a Google page. Because Google Google goes by rankings. I know a lot of people, yeah, it goes by rankings. So if you're not on the first or second page, you're less likely to get like searched, and like you want to get searching like specific keywords. So I just been trying to like work on that. I know people are kind of iffy about Google, so you can also like probably look us up with like DuckDuckGo or other search engines if you're not, too pleased with Google and how they track us. So, but anyways, let's go to the next segment. For today's topic, we're going to be talking about critical thinking. So let me give the actual definition of critical thinking, which is to objectively analyze and evaluate an issue and to form a judgment from what you evaluated.
So, before you continue, I just want to let our audience know that the significance behind today's topic is, as we mentioned earlier, this is our 50th episode, and critical thinking is a sort of a combination of a lot of things that we've talked about up until now, like things regarding media literacy and confirmation bias and everything of the sort. It all roots back to this concept of critical thinking, and it's obviously it's not a niche concept. It's something that we're all taught like, in grade school, especially all throughout like high school and like English class. But there's a lot to it, and it plays a part in how we navigate through this world. I feel like I say that a lot with a lot of the topics we've talked to until now, but critical thinking is like extremely, extremely important because it's sort of the baseline for a lot of these other things. But
I feel like when like a lot of people talk, or a lot, I can't speak for most people, but like when you have a conversation with people like face to face before quarantine or like people online, I feel like common sense is not there, but the like underneath like definition of common sense is like critical thinking, and that's why people don't use it as much. That's why I feel like at least for me, I really had to think about like it's why it's so important to like think before you speak or like actually just observe what's going on and being present. I feel like that's very important when it comes to critical thinking. A lot of people don't utilize that.
Yeah, but let's be honest though. It is, it takes work to, do at least a little bit of homework about any given thing before you talk about it. Like, we as human beings, we naturally like have an opinion on something even if we have very little information about it. And it's usually that initial opinion that we have is what sticks with us the most. And it's very hard to kind of break out of that sort of notion. They say like don't judge a book by its cover, but like our natural ability is to judge a book by its cover.
I feel like at least like in America, just going off that little quote you were just saying, that's why first impressions is kind of like important. Like when, like okay, because we're in quarantine, I feel like nobody really cares about first impressions because you're just going to the grocery store or like essential businesses. But before quarantine, like if you're going to like an interview, like you want to dress nice, like it depends on your audience because people do judge you because those are their opinions. They're going to judge you whether they know information about you or not. So, but just to piggyback with what you just said, keep going.
But yeah, it's difficult, to do that little bit of research, do that little bit of homework, and I forgot what I was gonna say.
First impressions, opinions.
Like, yes. I was talking about first impressions, and then there was like something else I wanted to talk to, like that's also kind of a hurdle with media literacy. How
we retain information, or
no? Damn. See, like I had it, and then sometimes you just lose it.
Okay. We'll try and find it again. But about critical thinking, let's do our takes on it, like our personal takes on it. I'll let you start off first since I gave the definition. What's your like personal like understanding of critical thinking without like
Without any like textbook definitions,
yeah,
just what you're
without
saying.
textbook definition or what you've learned in school from K to 12 or in college. Like how can you apply critical thinking to the real world? I guess to say either socially, economically, stuff like that.
Well, oh yes, this is what I was gonna say earlier. I remember what I was gonna say. All right.
Okay.
So there's this recent trend in the online world on social media, especially on Twitter. And are you familiar with what they call hot takes?
Yeah, they
Like
do it on
whenever
like
somebody tweets like, "Here's a hot take coming." Um, Hot takes are essentially your opinions that are not based in any sort of like critical thinking or anything like that, or like any sort of like research or homework. And they
It's just raw opinions. Just
yeah, they're just
what you
very
see, right?
they're raw. That's why they call them hot takes because they're fresh out the oven, like they're raw. Like
Yeah.
they didn't have they didn't have the adequate time to cook. And these I think some like yeah, like a lot of people do it for humor or just getting like honest opinions, but they're actually kind of dangerous when you really think about it because it's like it's you willingly like demonstrating your ignorance and you like recognizing that you're ignorant about it, but you still say your opinion and like try to sway others to see like what you're saying, and that is just a clear lack of critical thinking, and just like you said, thinking before you speak, or like observing like details and like doing some research, doing some homework, and having a like a informed opinion about something because everybody's gonna have opinions, but it's our job to have it so that like they're at very least informed and that we're not just talking out of our ass. So yeah, like hot takes, like yeah, sometimes it's funny. It's like like I can't believe this person said this, but then it's just like, well,
Just to go based off your hot take, I think it's interesting and it's also like a PR move to like one ignite your audience.
mm,
I feel like when shows have that, they do it to like stir up controversy with your audience members, whether it's a good hot take or whether it's just an ignorant one. If you have you have big enough fan base, you can definitely stir up some controversy with your hot take because, like you said, it's a raw opinion. It's just raw, so like it does show it's part of your ignorance. Like you just going basing all your facts off what you just saw without doing any type of research on it, and also just blurring out whatever comes to your mind.
yeah,
Whether it's in a quick format or whether you're like actually like trying to deliberately say what you need to say, it's still something that you're not well informed about, and you just want to get it out and say it to the public. It varies because like some people know what they're doing, and that's the reason why they do hot takes because they know it's gonna cause some controversy. Who's someone I can like? Charlemagne, Charlemagne the guy.
yeah, yeah.
He does it a lot, and like when I first like got like even noticed Charlemagne, it was like 2012, and like I was like 19, 20 then. I didn't know what he was doing. I just knew he like rubbed me the wrong way. And then as I grew, I was like, oh, I see what he's doing. He's definitely like trying to like pander to a certain group of people, not just black people, like a certain group of people, because he knows that good publicity and bad publicity, publicity is still publicity at the end of the day. So when you do hot takes and a lot of ignorant stuff, just causes controversy. Controversy causes engagement. You know what I mean? So he always has like a step to what he's doing, and he's just an example. There's a lot of people like that in the media industry or on a lot of online platforms that have this same approach but do it in a different manner.
Because let's be honest, like,
That's why we go on this topic of critical thinking. Like, do you really like? Are you really engaged with this content you're consuming? Like, are you really engaged in seeing what they're doing? Like, maybe they are pandering to a certain group of people and they want to get a reaction on them. Because once you get a reaction, you're going to want to state your opinion. Whether you're going to call them stupid or not, you're still reacting, and that's what they want at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it drives engagement.
I just think it's interesting. It's very interesting, and it's kind of like a Houdini trick with the mind. Like a little bit. Like just a little bit like a magic trick on the mind. But that's my little bit of... I guess I just went into my opinion about critical thinking with piggybacking off your hot take. But it does kind of make sense. Like, I would say like we're getting better, but there's certain our podcasts, but there's certain things where it's just like, okay, how can we have our podcast like more engaging? Like, I'm not saying like do hot takes. Like, we should definitely have like more substance in our content, but like definitely being more engaging. Cause like, I don't know. I'm doing a little review. This is a little bit sidebar, but I'm doing a little review of the last 50 episodes. We got our introductions out the way. We got like certain topics that we wanted to say as a foundation. So now it's like, okay, moving forward, can't just keep talking about critical thinking. Can't keep talking about like the media disruption. How can we still sound informative, but yet have like an actual conversation without sounding so ignorant? Because it's literally what we're talking about, right? Like, the hot takes are there to make us sound like we know what we're talking about. They use it to make it know what you're talking about, but really you're just trying to ignite a reaction from your audience member. That's how I feel about it, about hot takes.
And to flip that concept on like its head, you recognizing that somebody's sharing their hot take that is there just to get a reaction out of you, that's you using critical thinking.
Yeah. That's me using it. But not everybody uses that. That's me using it. That's you using it. But that's not, you know what I'm saying? We can't speak for everybody else. We're just talking about it in a sense. You know what I mean? And then also for critical thinking, I feel like it can be misused. And that's where it gets tricky. If we're going back to the reference of confirmation bias, we're not going to, like we said in the beginning of the episode, we're not going to actually like dive deep into it. You go look up that episode. But confirmation bias, a lot of people like search things up, whether it's like through book literature or online media content, and like this is the best way to look at it. This is the best way to look at it. Democratic and Republican article outlets. Like, you read those article outlets because it already confirms stuff that you already knew. It just keeps you more informed on their type of rhetoric, their type of jargon, their type of outlet of content. That's why I think it's kind of important to look at the rebuttal, look at the other side argument, because you want to see both ends so you can give like a objective perspective on it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people are doing that a lot more if we want to talk about politics, which I really don't want to, but if we talk about politics, like, you definitely want to look at both sides, what both parties have to say, even though kind of feel like it's bullshit.
And not just like what both parties, but also like looking to like non-partisans.
Yeah. Or both parties, and then actually look if all right. For instance, because COVID-19, look at both parties, what they have to say, because you want to be informed, right? And then also look at medical experts, which is a third party, which should be a more reliable party because they're actually out in the field and giving their opinion, like expert opinion on what's going on out in the field, because it's still a novelty virus, which means that it's like an ongoing investigation about what they're trying to find out about this virus. They don't know how to mitigate it. They don't really know how to suppress like the numbers and stuff. It keeps growing because they don't have a full understanding about it. They're learning something new about it every day, every week. Hence why it's a novelty virus. And it's important to get that third-party information. I think it's really more important than getting the news information, but that's my opinion on it. Because they're out in the field, they're giving you feedback of what's going on. And information like that, yeah, it's kind of like alarming, but at the same time, it's kind of it gives a sense of hope, because it's like, all right, you know, people are people in the medical industry are working really hard to figure out what's going on. So like trying to figure out what's the political agenda on each website, whether it's Democratic, Libertarian, Republican website. It's just important to get the rebuttal of each side of the story, whether you're looking at politics, whether it's a Democrat, Republican, and then you want to get a third-party source, which is probably more of an important source because of this topic, the medical field, like experts like either nurses, doctors, pharmacists, say for a topic like COVID-19. I was just basically saying it's a novelty virus, which means people don't know what's going on. Like, it's a new virus where they don't have like a vaccine or they just, the only thing they know about it is the symptoms. Like if you catch some of these symptoms, you gotta wait 14 days, and if it increased, you probably should go to the hospital. That's basically all they really know about it for right now, and that's what they can tell the general public. Yeah, that's basically all I was saying. What about you? What do you feel like with critical thinking moving forward? Why is it important in the digital world? What, like, I feel like, especially with the information, the surplus of information that comes out, it's hard to decipher whether the information you're looking at is giving you something that already confirms what you already know, or is it objective information that you just found online? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and you're asking like why is it important for the digital world in particular, and that relates back to media literacy, and how media literacy is essentially just the application of critical thinking to the media that we consume, and figuring out fact from fiction, what's reliable, what's unreliable, what's the motive behind this message. Just kind of like it's just like this culmination, of all these specific concepts that are all linked to this one term.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I just felt like it was important to emphasize it because, like, as we're making this transition, it is a transition. Like, a lot of people still read out of books, use books for certain purposes, but a lot of the information we're consuming, at least I would say like 60-70% of the information we're consuming, I can't even really talk about it in America. I can't really talk about outside other countries.
I mean, it's fair because it's our experience. It's our
experience. I can't tell about for the rest of the world, but I'd say at least 70. I'm being generous. 70%, maybe even more, is consumed online. A lot of our information is consumed online. Because it's at the tip of our fingers, or voice assistants, whether it's Cortana, Alexa, you name it. Siri, exactly. Like, you just the tip of our tongue, tip of our finger. So I used to think like asking questions is good. Just asking certain questions is good. Now it's about like asking like right questions. For me, at least for me, it's about asking the right questions, because you can ask your questions, but it'll lead you down a path where it's like, okay, you asked 5 questions that were hovering around the right question you need to ask sometimes,
Oh, no, trust me, as somebody that practices some journalism every now and then, there is such a thing as asking the right questions.
Yeah, it's just to get around the bullshit, honestly. It's to get around, like, certain bullshit so you can get to where the information you need. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Especially in journalism, like, the information you need. But, yeah, I just think it's very interesting for this topic, critical thinking. Very interesting that we summed it all together for this 50th episode.
Yeah. Think of this as kind of like a season finale.
Season finale, but I'm not going to call it season finale because
we don't have like season structures
TV show or a radio show. Yeah. That's the only reason why. That you're just going to keep going. But, yeah, Brian has the right idea. It's kind of like a season finale of all the topics that we were talking about since, like, episode 5, episode 6, when we're getting technical. It's about critical thinking. Like, yeah, it's an easy concept. Yes, we've been learning it since, like, 3rd grade, 5th grade, English class?
More or less.
Yeah, but the same time, we were learning critical thinking through like a school format, not to think for yourself format. If that makes sense. When it comes to the school structure, because like
in school they hammer it in when it comes to like analyze it in terms of like analyzing literature, because like that's where we learned it in like English, because we would apply critical thinking to like the literature we would read, like the books and stuff and the articles. But you're right, like it's not until like you kind of get into like college where you start taking classes where they actually like apply critical thinking to more like widespread areas. Like when you start taking like social science classes, and a lot of things like if you take like philosophy classes or like media and communication classes, that's when you start like really like applying critical thinking to more than just like literature. And yeah, like it's really important.
Also, I guess the reason why I picked this topic to talk about on the 50th episode is also using critical thinking while you're being creative, like knowing what's practical, knowing what like could actually be applied, and you actually going and using it and applying it to whatever you're trying to do in life when you're being creative. And that just piggyback off what I was saying about like learning critical thinking in a school structure, in a structured environment. Like they're kind of like shaping the way you're supposed to look at in-text and how you're supposed to dissect information from what you're reading. That's why we had papers and stuff like that to recite what we learned. But that's a great part about it. You know, school structure, recite what you learned on paper format. But like how you apply it and use it, I feel like, at least for me, that was the step I was like missing. Like I know how to dissect information and then put it on paper, explain what I learned. But how is this information useful for me? I felt like that there was a gap. And I'm just speaking like for myself. Like there was a gap for me while I was learning in school. It's like, okay, I learned this information. How could I actually apply this to my life? I guess I didn't really start learning that, or like start like actually trying to put an effort to applying it to my life till after school. Well, I'm still in school, but like till after college, I would say, because that's when I was actually like in the real world, like in the workforce, understanding how the world works. It's like it's a constant learning process. Like people in the government, like I have people in my family who are in the government, and they have continued learning. It's called CE, like continued learning classes, because like it's a constant like grind to like learn what's going on. You're staying updated with new information and stuff like that. So yeah, they keep going to those classes only because they want to stay relevant, but they also go to it because they want to know how to apply it to what they're working on. But that's basically all I have to say about it. About you?
Like I said, like it's like think of it as like this stew that we have cooking right now. And in this stew we throw all these types of ingredients. And you have it on the stove, and you stir it up every now and then. You let it cook throughout the day. And then once it's done cooking, you know, you gotta give it another day, because like stew tastes better after a day because the ingredients kind of sit and like kind of come together a bit more. And then you warm up that stew, and you take a spoonful and you drink it, and that stew is critical thinking. Because in the ingredients are basically all these concepts that it birthed. And then, like, if you put everything together, you know, you basically become Neo. You know, you become Neo from the Matrix. You know, you see things that other people don't see.
Exactly. Whether they find it like relevant or like entertaining, he really brought it up. Okay, so what Brian just brought up is like a reference to Matrix, which is a movie with is it
everybody knows the Matrix?
Yeah, everybody. I don't know about everybody, but yeah, okay.
It's a cultural touchstone. It's just
basically the concept behind the Matrix is like what Ryan was using, and we said it in the previous episode before. It's either taking the blue pill, which is being comfortable with the lies that's being portrayed to you through any type of literacy, whether it's book literacy, media literacy, just being comfortable because it's the only world you actually know about, or you're taking the red pill, which is the like uncomfortable truth, understanding like the world is working the way it works for a reason. And if you go down that rabbit hole of the uncomfortable truth, which is the red pill, the problem is you're seen as conspiracy theorists. You're seen as like delusional, because when you take that red pill, it's contradicting a lot of people's confirmation bias, contradicting a lot of people's core beliefs, which cause them to have cognitive dissonance, because like it's not a world they're used to. It's not something that like they can actually like comprehend and understand that the world would operate in such a way. And I think that's one thing about critical thinking. It's going to attack your core beliefs. It's going to attack like what you already know and make you find stuff that you don't know, and you got to figure out if it's true or not. You know? So in a sense, like, even though you learn critical thinking in school, I don't think you're ever done being a critical thinker, regardless if you feel like common sense is out there. Which, the older you get, you start to realize common sense ain't so common. You know, a lot of people don't have that common sense because a lot of people come from different education backgrounds. A lot of people learn differently. So critical thinking is very important. It's very imperative. You know, and also being vigilant online. You know, like the information you consume. I guess I have to go back on the conspiracy theories stuff, like the information you consume about conspiracy theories. It's just some of them actually are true, and some of them aren't. And that's the thing about it. Hence, they're just theories. Because some of them are really interesting to talk about and like really have a discussion about, and they're coming to present day. And then some of them is just like, you really think the world's flat, my guy? You know what I mean? Like, you really think the world's flat? Like, it's like, you know,
oh,
like, just deciphered it too. Like, you really think the world is flat? Like, okay, like, people are going to question your credibility if you think the world's flat. So, yeah, deciphering information in which you use is very important. Yeah.
Well said.
I guess I'll have that as my closing thought. So you're going to actually close the episode before we give our social media stuff. I'm talking about like closing thoughts of your opinion on critical thinking. Like, do you feel like patience more instead of just being seen like, all right, yeah, people should already know this, or what? That's what I mean by your closing thoughts about it.
So in other words, instead of me giving like just
a straight up analogy of what we all learned.
You basically just wanted to ask me a question on like, you know, are you asking, do I think like critical thinking, like how should it go about being practiced by the mass? Is that what you're asking me?
Pretty much.
And you know, you said like, for example, like, do you think that, you know, we need to have more open discussion, or is it more so about just like more people just need to know about this? Or
I think it needs more open discussion than knowing about it.
Mm.
That's why I'm asking you that question, because like, yeah, people like, it's almost a common sense, like obviously I already said that
the concept,
but like it's already been taught. Sense. Critical thinking, it's already been taught. So it's like, okay, why is it not talked about more?
Here's the thing about critical thinking is that critical thinking is not something you just learn, and then it's just like you're a critical thinker. Like you just learn, like everything you do is behind critical thinking. It's not really the case, because you know we are taught critical thinking in grade school. You know, we do exercises that we use critical thinking, but think of it as critical thinking as like a muscle that you exercise, and it's something that we have to practice, daily. And it's easy for us to not do that. It's easy for us, to fall victim to our biases, to fall victim to our preconceived notions, and to skip that whole step. We talked about this back in media literacy, how like it's very easy for people to just look something up online and believe it to be true, just because they read it from somewhere that they don't think is like BS. But and that's why like applying critical thinking isn't like as like black and white as like learning like a formula in like math.
No.
It's very situational, and like even the exercise of applying critical thinking, can be different from person to person because people have different research methods. People look up things from like different sources. People find things out in different orders, and that all has an effect on our resulting conclusions. And that's why it's tough to be like, yeah, more people need to practice critical thinking. Well, it's not just that. It's just that I think it's like you said. Like I think the real goal is to really just have a more like open environment where we're more allowed to freely express our opinions. Our opinions based on our not just our hot takes, but like opinions that are based off like the homework that we've done. But obviously, that's also very difficult because we're human beings, and we have like emotional attachment.
Human error exists. Like
Human error, we have emotional attachment to like our opinions, and having people like sort of challenge those sorts of things. For some people that comes off as personal attack. So it's very complicated. But
hence why I mentioned
cognitive. I think people need to at least do some type of research on something before saying anything. Yes. For the most part. That's my closing thoughts.
And that's what I meant by like your closing thoughts. Like, how do you think the masses should like approach critical thinking? Even with their research, like, is it an objective like article, or does it have some type of agenda or some type of narrative behind it? So, but that being said, that concludes our episode, our 50th episode, Critical Thinking. It's sort of like a season finale, but really it's just like a milestone. I'm not going to do like another like season or anything. We're just going to keep going with the numbers because one, this is not like a radio show like type ordeal or like a show, just a podcast.
That we feel like talking about, yeah. Like there's no like super like overarching structure, we just if things work out like they're planned to be, it's just because that's just how things worked out.
Exactly. So just gonna keep going. Appreciate anybody who's been listening to us so far. Let's give our social media stuff out there. I'll start. My Twitter account is Nigma Prince, NIGMAPRINCE. Sound like Lil Boozy right there. I'm not lying, but and then my IG is P._NIGMA, and then our podcast IG is N_Cast CAST_, and then you can also email us at ncastpodcast@gmail.com if you have any questions. That's all my social media outlets.
Yeah, and then if you want to reach out to me in the World Wide Web, you can reach me on Twitter at Brian Lives Life. That's BrianLivesLife.
Nice. I am trying to get like Brian and Ant and all of them and just get one like brand username. The problem is like Twitter and Instagram aren't letting me do it the way I want to do it, so I'm still trying to figure that out. But till then, I'm splitting it up. What else? I was also thinking about like maybe switching up like the intro and outro songs, just to give it a little new spice to the
post 50th episode type of thing.
Yeah, like post 50th, like you could tell the difference from like 1 to 50 to 50 to 100 and stuff like that. So If you hear a new like intro and outro song, that'll be the reason why. And you heard it on the 50th episode. But that's all for now. Thank you for joining us. And until next time, Brian, sign us out.
안녕히 가세요. 또 만나요.
Peace.